Hey guys, it's Madeline. This video is not gonna be a vlog. It's not gonna be a story time. Well, it's just gonna kind of be a rant, not super planned. But I was sitting in my bed, and if you know me, you know I live in New York. I come to Baltimore. Mans lives in Baltimore. I'm sitting in his bed. He's in work. I'm here like all week just because I needed a break from the hustle and bustle of like the crazy city. Okay, talking about New York, people literally, me being one of them when I first moved there, have like delusions about like how beautiful and bright and like, oh my god, Mary Poppins the city is. And it is, don't get me wrong, it's very like Mary Poppins, but parts of it are like dirty, disgusting, expensive, normal life. And it's really funny to like see the new people because you can really tell them out from like the old people who have been there for a while, or like, you know, because they're just like walking, minding their business, and the new people are like, oh my god, oh my god, and oh my god. I kind of missed that wonder about the city, but anyway, that was a rant. I just said I wasn't ranting, but I'm in Baltimore currently, and my man's works all week, so I go from like, I'm like entrepreneur, right, like dance model, actress, I work at a bar, to just like being stay-at-home wife. I love it. I love it. I love it. Actually, I hate it. I hate it so much. I have mixed feelings about it. I love it because I love to see him, and I love to feel like I'm not doing anything and I can just like kind of cook and go to the gym and go shopping and watch TV and do my art and like apply to stuff and like, you know, answer emails. I'm still working, I guess, but yeah, I like being able to do that. But what gets to me is like, I feel like I could be more productive in New York, and also like just being alone. Like, I'm alone right now. Like, I have free will, which got me thinking about the power of being alone and how being alone actually changed my entire life. So growing up, I was like really codependent, but I didn't have anybody to have that codependency with. Like, my parents had 6 children, so they tried, you know, but it's like, and my siblings didn't really like me growing up. We're a stronger relationship now. But because of this, it made me have like this like anxious attachment style. Like, I'm super codependent, but I feel like I don't have anybody to depend on, so it just leaves to a mess, right? It leaves a mess. So when I was like in college, maybe my sophomore year of college, like I was having a really hard time with this, and just being codependent with boys, being codependent with friends, being codependent with not my parents at this time in my life, but just being, I couldn't be alone. And when I was alone, I would get really depressed. I constantly wanted somebody over in my house. I wanted to be over at somebody's house. I feel like, yeah, I even had friends like sleep over sometimes. Like, I was literally never, ever, ever alone. And it was fine. It was okay. But I realized that anytime someone would leave, I would get upset, and I would feel like I would have to have somebody, you know, come back and hang out with me and stuff for me to feel better. But it's like, that's not what I needed, because when they would leave again, I would just be like, do you know what I mean? And I don't like being a crybaby. I don't like crying because like internally I feel like a pimp. So I'm like, the fact that I'm crying right now is just devastating because it's not how I feel inside. Yeah, but then I went through a period of time, as many women do in the beginning of college, where their codependent female friendships blow up. Sometimes it's nobody's fault. This one, there was a fault. I'm not gonna get into it. I hope she's doing well. Anyway, when that happened, and then like kind of like shit blew up with the guy I was seeing. He knows I'm wifey. Anyway, this was like 5 years ago. And I was just like, so I didn't even know what to do. And I didn't have any other options at that point because I didn't have the energy to go out and like meet new people. And like, I'm a little bit weird, so it takes me like a little bit to meet people. Yeah, and so I was just finding myself alone a lot of the time. And this was around the time that like Euphoria came out, like the last season. So I was like trying to find things to do my time. I was in college for dance at this point in my life. I was just like every Sunday I was like watching Euphoria. I was like working at an ice cream shop, you know, going to school. This was the first time in my life where I didn't have other people to distract me. So I was really trying to put everything I had into my career, into dancing. And I kind of realized, and back into myself. I kind of realized like I was like neglecting my health, neglecting like, you know, my emotional needs of my own, because I was just like having somebody else put a band-aid on it for me, like in that time. And this was a really hard time for me because I was like literally crying all the time. I was like making crazy like TikTok videos. I was like diving deep into spirituality. I started writing like a book. Like, I was just very lost because I didn't know myself. What I knew was myself through the eyes of like 9 million people. It was like a fake persona. It was like I was a collection of like everybody I knew. And I was like, okay, this is like scary because there's no real person like here. Like, what is going on? I lived that whole year alone, and I started getting so much better at things like cooking, cleaning my space, washing my hair, brushing my teeth, just kind of getting myself organized, making it to class, drinking water, and just really focusing and putting all the energy I was putting into other people back into myself. And when I started doing that, I started seeing real growth, not after a week, not after 2 weeks. I'm talking about after a couple months of like hard being alone and like working on myself and journaling and doing art and trying to find new hobbies. I started to feel like everything in my body took a breath. And I was always somebody who was talking all the time, super loud, like had so much to say, like da 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 da, like annoying, like one of those like annoying ADHD girls, right? And still like kind of, you know, but over that year, I got so chill. And so I was just like, I would meet people and I wouldn't even talk. And I started to actually get kind of nervous because I became more aware of myself and how I was and how I acted when I was with other people through being alone. And so I started to get more nervous when I was hanging out with people, and I acted very different hanging out with people. And so I started to make some different friends. And through these friends, there was somebody, I met a girlfriend that I actually ended up living with the next year. So I wasn't super alone. But then in college, I went to West Virginia and I transferred to Towson. So I was going to dance classes every day, and I don't really get along well with dance girls. Like, I love them, I wish them the best, but something just doesn't, like, it just doesn't click. So I always felt like I was around people, but they would all go, you know, get lunch after class and hang out on the weekends. And it's not like they didn't like me, like it was fine. It just wasn't that kind of like close friendship. So I had people around me, but really nobody. And, you know, I had friends come and go throughout college. My final year of college, I ended up living alone again. And I got a cat, and it was just kind of the best. It was the best thing for me at that time because I continued to grow in my own right. I started to have kind of my own routine of work and school and cooking and my cats and art and being outside and hiking, and for myself that I almost preferred being alone. I did have a really good girlfriend at this time, but as we know about female friendships in our 20s, yeah, like I made friends. I had friends come and go, whatever, but I really stayed consistent with myself. And through this, I started to really enjoy my time alone, to the point where people would ask me to hang out and I'd be like, okay, like, or, you know, like, oh my God, like, I just want to be alone. Like, can I just be alone? And like, when I started to feel like this, I was like, oh my God, I never thought I could be like this ever. And then I got a little overkill with it, right? Because you can go overkill with being alone, and you can get a little hermit-like, which kind of happened to me. But anyway, and then I like worked to get myself out of it. But I was still, even though I was spending a lot of my time alone, I was still very much dependent on the structures in place around me. And what I mean by that is living an hour away from my family. What I mean from that is being in college and being, even though I'm not like, you know, super close buddy, you know, like, oh my God, sisters with these girls, like seeing these girls every day, seeing professors every day that are kind of mentoring you, going to a job every day, having some sort of like normalcy. For me, it still kind of felt like I was dependent on something. And after I had explored so much of not being dependent on anything besides my Mary Jane, because I love her, but we'll get back to that. I was like, and just like discovering more and more about like who I am as an individual, it was exciting. And I was like, wait, I have like a personality, huh? And so like, I'm not just like a collection of everybody else. And so I was like, I need to go more with this. And so you guys know, if you watch this, if you've never watched my channel before, I bought a one-way ticket to Morocco after graduation, and I traveled the world by myself for 4 months. I went to 22 countries backpacking, and that was really my final, like, I'm about to go start my life out in the world. I have had this long 5-year college journey of learning to be myself. I am somebody completely different than when I started school. Let me see how much more I can grow. And so I wanted to see how much of my dependencies I could cut. And part of that really being location. And you know, like, even I'm a very creature of habit. So like, I'll get Dunkin' Donuts every single morning. Do you know what I mean? Or like a energy drink or something. I'll go to my specific grocery store. I'll go to like specific places. And I was like, without that, I want to see who I am away from everything, because being alone had made me so curious. And so I did that. And there were some real ups, there were some real downs, and I learned a lot about myself. I was even able to stop smoking weed for the 4 months, which was really crazy for me, because that was something that I never ever thought I would be able to do. And I saw so many sides. I was put in so many situations that were just different than what I had faced previously. And I was able to kind of like so many situations that I would have never faced at home, that I was kind of to answer the question in my head, what would Madeline do in this situation? Like, if somebody had asked me a couple years ago, what would you do in this situation? I'd be like, I have no idea. What? And now I know exactly what I would do in that situation. What do you do if you get kidnapped on a motorcycle in Morocco? What do you do if you wake up in the hospital in Thailand? What do you do if your Denmark fiance cheats on you? Like, so much stuff, right? What do you do if, like, you get pickpocketed in the Madrid airport? What do you do if you're on a sketchy, you're in a sketchy hotel in Paris, and the guy in the bunk above you won't leave you alone, and he's like on Molly, and he keeps drawing you like weird graffiti? Like, what do you do when you're like sleeping in the airport? What do you do when you're like alone with a backpack and no plan, and you're like crying because you have no idea where to go? What do you do when you're in the back of a stranger's car? What do you do when you're sleeping in a tent on the side of the road? What do you do when you're on top of the pyramids by yourself? What do you do when you're meeting all these like Egyptian men and women, and they're making you family? What do you do when you're stuck in Dubai and you hate it there and you're like throwing up every day? Like, what do you do when you see people from Thailand and Denmark and you're like, oh my God, who are you? What do you do when you're like in the middle of Korea and you're on top of a mountain with melted ice cream and this man you met in Germany? What do you do when you're, you know, meeting this girl from New York and Paris and partying it up in Barcelona, and then she meets this guy that you hate and you're watching the fireworks? Dude, it's just so many situations. Sorry for going on a rant, but like, I was able to figure out who I was. And then I was able to, you know, come back to the US, move to New York, do my whole shebang, and start my journey towards my dance career, my modeling career, my acting career, my art career, what you guys are seeing now. But it's like, I was really sitting here this morning, I was like, I'm so bored, like, what do I do? And then I started thinking, and I was like, chill. Because last time you chilled, you got so much out of it. And I like to think about who I was before I ever spent any time alone, back in that house, and who I am now. And I'm so thankful for the friendships that failed. I'm so thankful for the situations I was put in, because I needed that growth. I needed that time. I needed that period of not having people to rely on, because now I know how to rely on myself. I needed that period of not having people to, like, you know, interact with, because now I know how to interact with myself, and I know how to, I'm still working on who exactly I am, but I feel like maybe that's something many people take a lifetime to figure out. I'm still working on it, but I hope that maybe I can inspire you to take some time alone. Or maybe if you are, by some unforeseen circumstances, having to be alone at this moment, maybe you'll be like, oh, you know, this crazy girl did it and she's not so bad, and maybe I can do it too, and figure out who I am. So blessings to you. Shut up, Maddie.